probably more relevant to your audience, I went to work for a startup. I was probably the 20th employee or so, hired at the company was ultimately called Prologis. And many of you can look us up. Prologis is one of the largest real estate companies in the world today. Back then we were really small. We were a startup. I think today the company has $150 billion of assets. So very large. But I moved up the ranks. I was a regional director, chief financial officer, president, and chief operating officer, and then ultimately became the CEO. Throughout my career, I've really become more and more focused on what it takes to be a great leader and what great leadership is all about. And, I had plenty of things over my career that, influenced my leadership, but probably the most important one is the one I'm just going to spend a minute talking about, if you don't mind. And it's really the genesis behind the whole Transfluence that I wrote. And it relates to the challenges that I had in the great financial crisis and leading up to the great financial crisis in 2008. For the first 15 years at Prologis, we're just growing like a weed. We're a darling on Wall Street. We had a really sound strategy, great people, terrific brand. We were the market leader, et cetera. And we had a remarkable run in terms of financial performance. I think we garnered something like a 20% compound annual return for our investors over that 15-year period of time in share price appreciation and dividends, together. And then we went through, just prior to '08, I'd say probably '05 or so, we went through a leadership challenge, a change in leadership, I should say. And it was different. And in most cases, people don't leave companies, as you know, they leave bosses. And I was the president of the company and my boss was the CEO. And I loved the company, but I just could not reconcile what good leadership meant to my boss and me. We just thought about it differently. And on one hand, I had great respect for him. And on the other, he's probably one of the most brilliant people I ever met. And on the other hand, I felt marginalized by his need to look brilliant. And I'm sure your listeners probably have had that, or in their career.
Yeah.
And, many times I didn't feel listened to. I felt, if I had a different opinion, he didn't care and I didn't feel trusted. I didn't feel like I agreed with many decisions that we were making. And frankly, there were times that I just didn't feel like I was being told the truth. And, so I could see a change in the culture happening. We were talking in silos as a management team. We didn't communicate as a team. We didn't talk in the open. And therefore we made poor investment decisions and ultimately put too much debt on our balance sheet. That's just the bottom line. And leading up into 2008, those decisions cost us dearly and we were ill prepared for the Great Recession. And in January of '08, I decided to go to the board and our stock was at an all-time high. Interestingly enough, I went to the board and I said, guys, I'm going to exit stage left. I get a feeling, I get a real pit in my stomach as to where we are. From the outside in, we look good, but from the inside out, we were rotten and nobody wanted to work there. In 2008, the S&P 500 was down almost 40%. Our stock was down 95%, January through November of that year. So we were the third worst performing stock in the S&P 500, and the Wall Street Journal did a front page article on us, potentially going bankrupt. It was really bad. And the board called me up on November 8th of '08 and they said, look, we're going to make a change. You were right. We are going to get rid of the CEO and would like you to be the guy that comes back and runs the company and turns it around. And it took 4 years of my life. And ultimately, last year I published, or I should say 2 years ago, I published my book, Transfluence, which stands for Transformative Influence. And, people ask me all the time, okay, you turned a company around. How'd you do that? And I can't point to any one thing, but I can say this, that the book talks about how good leaders lead. And it starts with the idea that leadership is not about you, but it is about the influence that you have on other people. And that's the bottom line. And if you pay attention to that, if you service those people as opposed to servicing yourself, and you take a hard look at yourself and you realize that you're there for them, I will tell you, people will work really, really hard for you, and ultimately you'll accomplish great things. And that's how I sum it up really in the book. And that's sums up my leadership philosophy. And I had 4 years of wars to prove it. Ultimately we got through it. And 4 years later, I retired, and I've been out working on corporate boards now. I work on 3 corporate boards, and I am on the board at Penn State, which is my alma mater, and I blog and I write about leadership and I speak about leadership, and I have a LinkedIn live show, and now I'm on your podcast talking about.
Love it. Love it.